Black Magic Woman podcast acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we have recorded this episode on. We also acknowledge traditional owners of the land where you, the listener or viewer, are tuning in from. We would like to pay our respects to our elders past and present and acknowledge that this always was Aboriginal land and always will be Aboriginal land.
I think the thing as well is that we thought that we were making a footy film. Mm-hmm. This is not a footy film. This is a film exactly about what you're saying, about what it takes to walk proudly in two worlds.
Welcome to the Black Magic Woman podcast with Mundanara Bales.
Welcome back to Mundanara's Yarn with Sal and Dannielle. We pick up where we left off. Sal tells us about a powerful moment she experienced during a screening of Like My Brother.
You know, last night I sat next to Arthurina Maureen, extraordinary young woman. And, you know, of course I've spent 7 years of, like when I met these girls, they're 15, 16.
And now they're young women.
Mothers too. Rena's not a mother. But like I was sitting beside Rena last night and her legs were bouncing like this and I just kept putting my hand gently on her leg. She was so nervous, her whole body was shaking. And then was just sort of leaning into her and really watched the film through her eyes. And it was like, you know, I've been with her, I've been behind the camera the whole time. But last night I was just like, far out, I asked so much of you. You have given me so much, you know, to see her
so
face
generous,
3 stories high. And she's just like, oh, God. She's so lovely.
Yeah.
But what was so interesting in the process, and this was the big education for like a distributor. So when you make a feature film, it's a massive legals, isn't it? Like, I mean, you're dealing with this
paperwork,
yep. The paperwork, the paper chain. Nobody, as an artist, nobody can prepare you for the paperwork that goes into a film. And obviously, working in a film in this space, the protocols and the approval processes, you know, make everybody nervous. And so the approval process for the cultural approval was to be undertaken by Tammy and Tiki and Shane, the Tiwi co-producers. And we own half, the film is shared between my company and their company,
yep.
which is fantastic. So
this is a proper partnership.
Totally,
yep.
Absolute
Love
proper
this.
partnership. We own half the copyright together. We own the film
yep.
is a shared film between us. And but with the cultural stuff, you know, distributors doing the right thing. Everyone's like, well, that's just something that signs off, and they've been on the and you know. So you have a piece of paper that has to be signed, and I always know with these guys when things happen very quickly, it's good. When people go quiet, I'm like, got a problem here, and I hadn't heard from the guys for a couple of days, so I send it through again, and I don't hear again, and that was really because they didn't know how to have the conversation with me, and because there was a sense of feeling uncomfortable that they were signing on behalf of the Tiwi people.
Without
of everyone.
Going back to community.
So I was like, so guys, you're saying to me that I've got to go and get 2,500 signatures on this piece of paper? And they were like, well, yeah. I went, well, okay, we've got a problem. What are we going to do? Because we're not going to get that. And it was actually Tammy, who's the genius. I'm like Tammy for president because she's just genius human. She said, well, you know what? We've got 3 elders who are involved in this, and what we can do is we can have 1 elder for language, 1 elder for country, and 1 elder for culture. I was like, oh, that's so fantastic. So what that meant was we've shared the responsibility.
Yeah.
But we've shared it with the right people. And then everyone was happy. It's like, oh, amazing.
We can sort this out.
There
There is a way to work with community.
Yeah, but we did get notes and stuff too, you know, and we took them on board. You know, that's the thing. It's not like this one way someone's just signing off on something. It's like, yep, listen to what people have to say. Yeah. Actually have the conversation and, okay, adjust if you have to.
Because there's that beautiful scene where Mary Maureen, Rena's grandmother, speaks in language. Mm-hmm. And Marius, and she's the part in the little scene in the film is she's explaining why language is important. She says they have to know themselves, who they are. They have to be able to speak their language. And when they go to Melbourne, they speak in English. But when they come back here, they speak Tiwi. My kids speak Tiwi so proudly. And so she speaks Tiwi. She's got a little baby on the floor. He's wrapped in a blanket.
And she's telling him about the camera actually and saying, get up because the camera can see you. But she
says, go and put your trousers on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had that. Go and put your trousers on because the camera's here. You can come and speak to the camera. We had that on screen. Because Tiki, I think, had translated it. And Marius said, I don't want that there because that's it's an easy gag and I
just leave it in Tiwi and don't put a subtitle.
And don't put a subtitle. And the producers were like, but that's funny. And we're like, no, the elder doesn't want that there. So it's stripped out. And it's actually beautiful because what I love is people are saying, what is she saying? Mm-hmm. Which is lovely.
But it is also a personal inside thing and you hear the language. And she says then in English, my kid's speaking Tiwi and stuff. So you hear the language. You might not get exactly what she's saying.
Yeah.
So with this film, these beautiful women that have given so much of their time, their life, and coming to Melbourne, they play in the AFL, the WAFL. Are they living here?
This is a spoiler.
Yeah, do you want to know?
You have to see the film.
We can't let you know these two different worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This blackfella world, Aboriginal world, Tiwi world, and this mainstream white fella Western world are so different, right? And bringing them together in terms of these young women coming here to Melbourne, getting on that plane, staying in these hotels, interacting with different people. How has that been? If you can't tell us, how's it been with these women in terms of just navigating the Tiwi world, leaving community and coming here?
For football or for the film?
For the film.
Oh, for the film.
We're not going to spoil the film, right?
No. But they do come to Melbourne for footy. But yes, for the film, I think there was a challenge around football grand final and missing out, obviously. One of the girls actually didn't come to the film festival because she had 2 grand finals and won both of them and, stayed. She actually travelled from Barunga. So the final was in Katherine and then flew to Darwin or drove to Darwin probably and then flew to Tiwi to play the second grand final, won both of them. She beat the other team that, so we had some sad girls here in Melbourne.
And excited.
With Juliana. There. But the girls, I think they really enjoyed it. Miff did the Melbourne International Film Festival, looked after us. We all got to stay in a flash hotel, really close to the screenings and stuff. And I think we all felt like, it was really special, bringing children with them and stuff too. And felt, I think they just felt proud of what they'd actually been able to achieve and that they shared their story and that were brave enough to do that.
Yeah.
And it's, it's been a long journey for them. And I think last night they actually said that, yes, we waited 7 years for this.
Yeah. I think the thing as well is that we thought that we were making a footy film. Mm-hmm. This is not a footy film. This is a film exactly about what you're saying about what it takes to walk proudly in 2 worlds. But what you come to realise is that's not just about black fellas walking proudly here, because this film explores so many cultural aspects. It's actually more about what it takes for white fellas to walk. I would love it that we don't have a black world and a white world. I would love it that we come together and we have a respect and understanding for all that we're bringing, and that we can walk away from that and still have, respect for our cultures.
Yeah.
But I think that was, one of the things that really struck me was, and this is to our earlier conversation about kids coming down to school or, where kids go to school from community, is that I was constantly surprised when football clubs said, oh, we're so amazed. We thought we were giving them everything. We've actually learnt more than they've learnt. And I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? It was just the
exchange of cultural knowledge that's been gifted to a lot of white Australians or non-Aboriginal people people are surprised.
And
And their brilliance on the bloody football
on
field.
the brilliance on
that-
the footy
on top
field.
of that, right?
Oh my God. I mean, Rena's, do go and see the film just for Rena's
Well,
ball skills.
tell our listeners and our viewers now what the film's called.
The film is called Like My Brother, and it follows 4 young Tiwi women on their quest to play professional footy and what that takes and the cost that comes, what it comes at. But I think most importantly, it's about daring to dream. And that's what, when the girls have had interviews over the last few days, what they're most proud about is inspiring not Tiwi women, but inspiring girls from, I mean,
Remote
you talk about what they've been saying.
That's exactly what they've been saying. Remote communities, like just to actually understand what it takes to leave your community, be brave, put yourself out there. And they're all saying the same thing. Take the risk.
Take the risk.
Come and have a go, because they have grown over this period, and we didn't want to spoil the film and stuff, but they're back at home and they are actually living amazing lives, like they're
Rich
mothers
lives.
and they're got amazing
We were talking
jobs
about this
and-
earlier, weren't we? Because we talk about how a brain expanded through opportunity never goes back to the same dimension. So these girls, you could say, oh, it's just a coincidence that these 4 girls, when you think about how scarce jobs are in community, these 4 girls have gone back and they've got amazing jobs. So, for example, Juliana is an assistant teacher. Jess is working in the local creche. She's been doing that for sort of 2 years now. Frida is a police liaison officer. She's just undertaken her training in Alice, and now she's going back. She's saying last night she's doing more online training for the next 6 months. And Rena's amazing. She is, all the girls are amazing, but Rena's job at the moment, she is working to be, training to be a director of Gillamara Gallery. Well, I'm saying that Gillamara because she will be one day, but at the moment she's a gallery assistant. She's a beautiful artist in her own right. Her grandfather's Timothy Cook, so she comes from artist royalty. But, those girls know what it takes to be disciplined. And as in being a young mum and what it takes to get out the door and earn. It's hard. It's hard for those girls.
Yeah, and I think what Sal was talking
It's hard
about,
for all single mums, or, mums, young mums.
daring to dream and stuff too. And, you talk about, this film being made over 7 years. The interesting thing I was talking to Sal about today too is that actually investing time into people. And so because this film happened over a long period of time, you're able to capture, the positive stuff over and people interested in your life over 7 years. I think that actually added to their life story as well, and them building as people and, growing as young women. Yeah. We see them grow over the film. It is a coming of age film and stuff too, but you see them as little girls but brave young girls.
But we do explore some dark stuff as well.
There is things that are touched on that aren't necessarily on screen as well. So there's more to the story, and that
People
there
can
are
interpret
challenges.
it based in-
and there are challenges that the girls face, and there are, I think that's what makes it richer though. Too.
We have a big get out of jail card as well, which is COVID.
Oh, yes. That happened in the middle of all this.
Yeah. And I mean, the biggest thing is the girls were waiting for a phone call that didn't come, and can't say about the spoiler of that, but, audience wanted to know, did that phone call ever come? And the girls are very honest about that.
No.
And that was tough for those girls.
But in the same, this is what we talk about. The film's really positive because those girls use these experiences. They pick themselves up and they keep going.
This is the resilience of your mob hire.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm sitting here now going, this film, we've got to go and watch it.
Going back to your kids,
Yes.
the kids thing as well, we've really, I'm really excited by, we're doing a big educational component.
Resource. It has to be. Yes.
Through a company called cool.org.
Yep.
Big shout out to those guys because the work they're doing is just chef's kiss, so fantastic.
Yes.
But that will be for year 9 and 10 kids across Australia.
Yeah.
So ties into the curriculum, is able to be accessed by 175,000 teachers in Australia. So in the very beginning, I was like, man, imagine if we could get you 12 kids, like if this could be on the VCE sort of curriculum.
Yes.
So the first 3 units are tied into English, and they talk about plot, theme and characters. So, you know, to think that Rena, Jess, Frida, Juliana as characters, what are their obstacles?
Yeah.
I mean, how amazing is that?
Well, that's now an Aboriginal perspective in a lesson plan that a lot of Aboriginal kids who are at school can finally see themselves represented.
Yes.
This is so
also
exciting.
the opposite too.
The opposite.
Like for white kids going, or multicultural Australian kids going, this is what it's like to be an Aboriginal kid.
Yes.
And I can understand what they're going through.
Yeah.
And also, like, one of the things I love about the film is these girls, it's the humanity of them. The audience cares about them. We want them to win. And, you know, I think that's the heart of the film is the amazing part of the film as well. It's like people care about them, and I think that's what we have to care about. All
coming
our
up to us at the cinema last night. I had this woman coming up. I felt like I had to, you know, put my arms around her and give her a hug. I've never met this woman before. She's like, I'm an English teacher, and I just will I be able to teach my children? And I'm like, yeah, you will. It's okay.
It's all happening.
It's going to be great.
Yeah, she just said, I kept crying. I kept crying.
I just couldn't stop.
But there's so many, you know, there is some really heartfelt moments in the film, but there's so many positive, uplifting moments as well.
That's what's been great I mean, you know, somebody said to me last night, are you going to go to another school? I'm like, I can't wait. Because when you craft a story, and, you know, Dan and I, you literally have a wall like this, you have scene cards, and it's a doco, so it's not, you know, you're not making it up. We're looking at the footage that we've got.
Life.
You're working with real life, and we'll go, you know, we should talk about Nana. So introduce Nana as a character. It's
really hard because, you know, we all care about this lady and the journey of the film. You know, there's some sad things that happen to her, but Frida's Nana Aileen, she just guides us. She's this guiding force through the film, and you really love and care for her, and it's hard at the end of the film. But we actually, without spoiling the film, we got to film a Pukamani ceremony, which is the ceremony that happens after a funeral, maybe a year later, and it's to finish the mourning period. And that's the thing about access and family and stuff too. They wanted us there. I mean, Tiki, the producer, went and talked to the family, and they were happy for us to be there. Obviously, I directed that, and we're very aware that, you know, we didn't want to get in the way in any way. We want to be really respectful, but it's a really beautiful scene because it feels like you're there and you're with mob, you know, and you just...
Such a privilege. And Marius, or Purawani Purantata Mary, he explains what Pukamani is. And that his description, he's so wonderful. Dan just did the most, like, I'm in Melbourne watching this unfold, and like, you just did the most amazing job. I don't know how you got him to explain that, but he says, or how you did you give him would love to know the leading questions, because he goes, so in Western way, and I was like, oh my God, it was just, it's
just brilliant talent though, you know, Elder who actually is used to actually bringing more people from outside.
Yeah. He's like an interpreter.
Yeah,
yes,
and he knows what people
exactly
need to hear to understand their culture.
Yes.
And he was so open and stuff. I didn't do anything magic.
So
he was just
beautiful.
deadly.
And his face last night, like, his face is literally the whole screen. It's so beautifully shot. And yeah, and it's really interesting. Like, I think the biggest takeaway I've had from people who've seen the film is, like, I feel like I have just been given this gift of a culture that I didn't know was there for me to access. I'm like, you're Australian. There's no sign saying stay out. You know, it's there if we ask the right questions.
Yeah.
This depth and this wonder and this culture is there for us all.
Mob are so happy to share, aren't they? Like, really.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sitting here going, my camera's going to die soon.
Yeah.
But we could be yarning about, well, really, you know, what do you want in terms of for Australians to take from this film? And I just, you kind of answered the question I wanted to ask next, is that this is a gift. To see it as a gift, to receive it as a gift, and what you do with that gift is up to you. But it should actually help change the relationship in this country that is long overdue between white and black Australia, Indigenous and non-Indigenous. We need to come together, and these films need to be created and need to be accessible to the public. I can't wait to see it. And I'm so excited that I actually had the opportunity to hear from both of you about this film that most of us are still waiting to see. So can I just quickly say, in terms of the women that feature in this film, I would love to get them on the podcast and I can Zoom them on and we can actually talk to them more in depth. We might all be able to get on. I'd love to go to the Tiwi Islands. Could that be a thing? I can't wait. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much
for
the
coming in
opportunity.
and just being so, I don't know, just like feel like I've been gifted this story now that I can't wait to watch. Tomorrow I'll be looking for this story, this film, counting down to the 17th of October. Everyone that's watching this podcast or even listening to this yarn, make sure you go and see Like My Brother. I knew it straight away because I've got 8 sisters.
My brother. And if you want a T-shirt, go online because I'm about to take it down because I got so many orders today I can't cope and I'm making them myself.
There you go. So all you mom, I just want to say I hope you've enjoyed this deadly yarn with these deadly women, and I'm sure there's more that you're going to hear about in the future. So until next time, bye for now. If you'd like any more info on today's guest, please visit our show notes in the episode description. A big shout out to all you Deadly Mob and allies who continue to listen, watch and support our podcast. Your feedback means the world. You can rate and review the podcast on Apple and Spotify, or even head to our socials and YouTube channel and drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. The Black Magic Woman podcast is produced by Clint Curtis.